The fire was so big, it shocked us all. No one saw it coming and no one could stop it. It burned everything.
The Triangle Shirtwaist factory was located in Lower Manhattan on March 25, 1911 at 4:45 a.m. Okay. As the workday was ending, someone yelled fire on the 8th floor. During this time, the regulations that we have today for labor workers were not around. Because wages were bad and hours were unfairly long, the women of the garment factory went on strike. There weren't any child labor laws and women were only allowed to work in clothing factories. In the Triangle Shirtwaist factory, the ages of the women who worked there were between 10 and 23. Most were Irish and Jewish immigrants.
I was so excited for work that day. My hours were finally being shortened because of strikes. The strikes were finally paying off.
The two elevators were only supposed to hold 10 people each, but on some trips they held 12 to 15 people. The elevators only made 10 to 20 trips. In this factory, the owners did not trust the workers. Every day when they came and left, they have their bags checked. Any precaution was taken to prevent theft. All the exiting doors were locked so that the women could not leave with any article of clothing nor take breaks. Dust filled the air because the owners would not allow the women to throw out the cloth because they were trying to save money at all costs.
We were working as fast as our fingers could sew, trying to ignore our bosses breathing down our necks, when suddenly I smelled something burning, so I looked to my left and I noticed a smoke coming from one of our scrap bins, so I ran to get a water pail, but there was no water, just some more scraps of cloth. So figuring that we couldn't put out the fire, all of us ran to the elevators, and there were so many people that we had to take multiple trips, and luckily I was one of the first people to get on the elevator. So when we got down to the first floor, I noticed that the factory tenant was trying to alert the other floors.
I was on the 10th floor when my boss got a phone call. At first he seemed annoyed that someone was wasting his valuable time, but then his face quickly grew panicked, and hastily he told us that there was a fire, and then we all ran out and went up the stairs to get to the roof, and we escaped to safety.
It was starting out as a regular day when we noticed it began to look a little cloudy around the room. I thought nothing of it at first. Maybe, it's just dust collecting on the air. But then it began to get warmer in the room and the smoke got thicker. Boss checked the stairwell to see what was going on the floors beneath us. Suddenly he screamed, "Fire! Fire!" We rushed all around, scrambling away from our working desks into the exit door. As we were all clumped by the door, one of the women yelled that it was locked. We looked around for the boss because he had the key, but he was nowhere to be found. So we all rushed to the elevator, pushing and shoving to be the first ones on. The smoke was getting thicker and thicker by the minute, and it was really hard to breathe. The fire was seeping through the doorway, consuming all the scraps of cloth we had in the bins by the door. Sadly, the elevator could only fit a handful of us, so the women on the elevator had to push the hands away from the gate so that it would close when they go down. When the elevator came back up, I was shoved by the others onto the elevator. It filled again quickly, and again it was time for the elevator to go back down. As we were going down, I heard thuds above my head, and a lady cried, "They're jumping!" I was lucky enough to make it on the second trip.
Because of how hot the flames were getting, many of the young women and men decided to jump onto the elevator so that they could escape the fire. Later, 25 charred bodies were found on top of the elevator by firefighters. Once the fire department got there, their ladder didn't reach the 9th floor. In fact, it was barely long enough to reach the 6th floor, 3 floors too short. And to make matters worse, the water from the hoses only reached the 7th floor. So in order to escape the flames, some workers tried to jump for the ladder, and many of them missed, falling on the sidewalk in a pool of blood and sometimes later other bodies. According to the New York Times article on March 26, 1911, there was one girl who waved a handkerchief at the crowd, leaped from a window adjoining the New York University building on the westward. Her dress caught on a wire, and the crowd watched her hang there till her dress tore and she came toppling down. Eyewitness account that a man and a young woman held hands as they jumped from the burning building. Women inside the building began to panic even more after the elevators didn't come back up, so many ran to the second exit. In their horror, they found it to be locked too, and with no other way out, died of smoke inhalation.
Because of the deadly fire, many women went on a massive protest, clogging the streets of the city. Many families came in for the funerals and were also there to protest the injustice that had happened. At this time, the International Ladies Garment Workers Union was organized, and because of this strike, many safety precautions were established that we still have today, such as unlocked fire exit doors, proper fire warning system, a durable fire escape, and a cleaner working environment.
When the fire was expanding on the 9th floor, the owners, Max Blanc and Isaac Harris, escaped to the roof secretly. The owners and bosses of this factory were not charged with the murder of these workers. However, they each had to pay the families a sum of money to make up for the loss.